So welcome to Carp TV. You join me here in session down on my local Syndicate water, the Pan. I arrived last night, late afternoon. Had a walk around the lake and I decided to settle here down in an area of the lake where I've done well in the past in the spring, and I know that there's some nice sunny weather forecast for today, so I knew the fish would likely transition from the deeper water down into the shallows. So I had 3 rods out there in the last night, and unfortunately I've been on tench patrol, so I've had 4 tench. It's been a bit of a pain, and the birds have been a bit of a pest as well now, but the sun's been up for a while now and it's starting to get warm, so I'm going to reposition one of them rods and put it round to my right onto a shallow plateau where I had a few fish last March. So what I'm going to do is tie up a little PVA funnel web stick, get a couple of them together, and then I'm going to get a rod out there. So what we've got is the Katran PVA organic funnel web system. It's a new system I've been trying out. I'm really impressed with this. It melts really well. There's no sort of bitter or sour taste to the funnel web as well, and it's actually got a wooden plunger as well, which is quite unique to the product. So let's get a couple of Atlantic heat boilies, pop them into the funnel web, push them down. Just make a couple of them up, just in case the cast doesn't go quite right. It's a really good mesh this, it's quite open and it breaks down really quickly in the water, so I've been really impressed with it. It's definitely something I'm going to be using a lot more in my angling this year. So that's all nicely trimmed up. Always like to give my boilies just a little tiny squeeze in the funnel web, just so it breaks, cracks them in effect, lets the water in a bit quicker, and lets all them goodness and all the attractors out a bit quicker as well. So let's go and put one of them on the rod and see if we can go and get ourselves a bite. So at the back end of last year, obviously I'd caught swirling and a lot of the other old fish what I'd set out to achieve and catch out of this venue, and I decided back in late October I'd have one last trip for the year. So I set up in the 30s area. I was actually barrowing around with the intention of coming around here, but as I'd put the barrow down for a little rest, I saw a fish show out on a spot and I thought that'd do me for the night, and I literally peppered a couple of rigs out in the area and a few spoms, didn't even clip up, and must have been just before first light. I had this lovely dark scaly mirror, one of the younger fish in the lake, but one for the future for sure and a proper looker, so I was made up with that. So it's the middle of October. I've just had this cracking lovely Milton Pan mirror, absolute beauty this one. Colour of that and them scales. Let's have a quick look at the other side. And there she is. Right, we're going to get a couple of quick photos and then get her back. Nearly time for work. After that capture, I had a lot of work commitments and family commitments, and I decided there and then that was going to be my last trip for the winter spell, and I'd take some time out for once, which is really rare for me. So got through till probably, must have been late January, early February, and I decided to have a little fish on my winter water and had some cracking fish out of there in a couple of short morning sessions. And then I decided last week that I'd have one last trip over at the Pan where you find us here today, just to kind of say goodbye to the place really, because I've had some really good fond memories of this place. And I set up in here last night, got the rods out, and unfortunately I got pestered by the tench all night, so a bit of lack of sleep, but it's been good fun all the same, and it's been nice to see the sort of lake going into its spring mode, trees all starting to bud, and it's yeah, I'll miss the place. But my new ticket starts next weekend, and I did have other plans to fish elsewhere, but a rare opportunity came up, and sometimes you have to take them opportunities. So hopefully you'll see me in the near future with some proper old Kent fish, what I've wanted to catch for a long time, and I've been waiting for that ticket for a long time. So let's see what happens, and watch this space. So recently I've been playing around with a couple of new materials that I've been given to have a look at. So these are from the Katran range. So the Termit one is actually my favourite one so far. This one is a uncoated braid. It's lovely material. It's classed as sort of semi-stiff. It's an interesting material because it's not quite as supple as your traditional uncoated braids. You can sort of hold it and it holds its shape a little bit, and I'm not a big user of coated braids, so having a semi-stiff uncoated braid is absolutely perfect for my style of fishing, because it enables me to be able to fish from the spots further out without having to put the coated braid on. So this is something I'm going to be using a lot in my fishing this year. And there's also another one I've been using a bit as well and playing around with, which is the Magus. This one's a slightly more textured material. It's got a sort of flecked colouring within it, and it's again a semi-stiff one, so you can see you can sort of hold it and it holds its shape upright, and it's still sort of dropping over. It is supple still ultimately, but again an uncoated braid, and it's beautiful to tie rigs up with. The knots are really strong on it. Not had any problems with it at all. So these two are going to be the ones that I'm going to be playing around with a lot more this season, and hopefully I'll report back to you with some good results. So I've just been picked up by a coot, so I've just got the rod in, wrapped it up, and I'm just going to put a solid bag on. So I've got one of my Corda PVA bags. Lots of good bags on the market, but I like to use these ones. And then I've got a mixture of finely crumbed up Baitworks chops and some edge pellet and a little bit of rock salt, and I've got a few slightly coarser bits in there as well, just to mix it up a little bit. So let's get that set up. Put a little handful in the bottom there. Got a 3.5 ounce inline flat pair, a little bit of the Termit hook link, and a size 4 Corda Curve X hook, and a little tiny kicker on there, and then a little heat wafter. So what I do is pop the bait in between my fingers, drop the lead tight to the back of the bag, give it a couple of little taps down. I like to keep the hook link to one side so it doesn't get mixed up. Add a little bit of crumb to it. Be careful not to tangle the hook link or catch the hook on it. Then I tuck that down the side of the bag, right down to the bottom. Make sure the hook link's out of the way, and then I top that bag up. Just make sure that packs down nice and well. I'm not fishing particularly far out, so I don't need to worry about the bag being absolutely solid and perfect. I get that reasonably solid. I'm using a tail rubber as well, so I don't need to worry about using PVA tape to tie the top. I just lick the bag and wrap it around. Just twist that tight to the tail rubber. Sometimes you have a little bit what needs doing, but no, that's right. And just fold the ends of the bags in. Just stick them down to make it all nice and neat. And what you get left with is a nice solid bag, nice and tight. Lead's flat on the back of the bag, so it's always going to land that way up. Hook bait on this side. Stick a hole near the hook bait to let the air out and helps the bag break down in that place. And at that point as well, you can get a little bit of Voltus or any other liquid you want and squirt that inside the bag. Right, let's get this back out on the spot and see if we can get a carp. We're just testing out the new Katran Crypton line. This is the 21 pound version. No lead or anything, because there's no leaders allowed on this water, so we're just testing it out to see what it's like level line casting. I've got it clipped up at 45 wraps, so a bit ambitious, but we'll see what happens. There you go, hit the clip, 45 wraps. Happy with that, that's staying on my spools this season. So one thing I really like about this line is its strength. It's like, I've not been able to break it casting, and I'm like, as you just seen there, I've clipped up at 45 wraps, level line casting, powerful rod, 4 ounce lead, and I've repeatedly cast that as well, and it's hitting it every time, so I'm well impressed with it. It's something what I always look for in my angling, really strong line. It's something I never want to have to worry about when you're playing a fish, if there's any bars and stuff, and I've tested this myself as well on some pretty abrasive materials, and it always stood up to the test, so I'm well impressed with it, and it's definitely going to be on my reels this season. One of the other benefits of it as well is it's actually got this technology built into it where at night time, if you shine a blue light on it, you can actually see the lines going out into the lake. Obviously not a huge distance out, but you can see them a reasonable distance out, and for me that's a huge benefit because I like to fish 3 rods on the spot. So by being able to do that, I can check if I have to recast after night like I did last night with all the tench. I can switch the light on and check that my lines are all pointing where they should be pointing. So with limited time on the bank and the fishing being slow with only a few tench to show for the efforts, we decided to make use of our time, and actually we've done some casting with the Katran Crypton line to test that out, and I was really impressed. Managed 45 wraps level line casting with that in the 21 pound version, and you would have seen that in this vlog. There's going to be a few more vlogs in the future on casting, so I hope you enjoy them, and yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and see you again soon.